Imagine you walk into the kitchen and find your kid sitting on the floor, slowly eating cereal with their hands, staring at a spot on the fridge like it just confessed a murder. That's not laziness. That's a sloth mood. Sadness in kids isn't always tear-streaked monologues or violin soundtracks. Sometimes it's just stillness. The kind of stillness that makes you wonder if your child is buffering. Psychologists call this inhibited behavior. But let's be real, it looks like a child trying to turn into a couch. And here's the kicker. Adults often respond with, "You need to snap out of it," like emotions come with a remote control. But sloth mode isn't about discipline. It's about exhaustion. Emotional exhaustion. The kind where your brain's like, hey, if we stay really still, maybe no one will ask us to do stuff. Hugging a child in sloth mode is like holding a wet sock that just wants to go back into the laundry. But that hug, that's the point. Because sadness isn't solved by instruction. It's softened by connection. Basically, your child's nervous system is pulling the emotional fire alarm. Don't ask it to explain the emergency. Just show up with juice and a blanket. Ah, yes. The tiny anger explosion. The classic door slam over toast being too brown. This isn't your child turning into a future dictator. This is the Chihuahua mood. High-pitched, fast, kind of irrational. And you know what? Weirdly terrified. See, anger in kids is often just fear in a tiny trench coat. When kids feel powerless, confused, or embarrassed, their brain doesn't schedule a calm team meeting. Nope. It throws a chair and bites your ankle. What's really happening? Their amygdala, aka the brain's drama queen, hijacks the entire nervous system. Logical reasoning takes a coffee break, and the primal fight response waltzes in like it owns the place. So while you're thinking, my child is being ridiculous over nothing, their brain is thinking, the world is collapsing and nobody understands me. And also, why did you cut my sandwich that way? Here's the twist. Yelling back doesn't help. It's like shouting at a blender to stop blending. What actually helps is being calm, like a human anti-chihuahua. You become the emotional thermostat. And eventually, the bark quiets down. So yeah, anger is loud. But behind the scenes, it's just a panicked puffball in desperate need of safety. You ever seen your child do that thing where they can't stop scanning the room, bouncing from foot to foot, and asking you 5 questions per second about whether the birthday party will have purple balloons specifically? That's anxiety. And it's basically a meerkat that had 5 cups of coffee and just read an article titled, "Everything Might Go Wrong." Children don't always say, "I'm anxious." Nope. Instead, they turn into micromanagers of reality. They ask you the same question 5 times, then cry when you answer it differently once. They can't sleep because their brain is holding a committee meeting at 2 a.m. with all their imagined failures attending. Biologically, it's the nervous system gearing up for non-existent threats. It's your child's survival instincts misfiring like a car alarm during a windstorm. Their body wants to do something, but it has no idea what. So it flails, paces, clings, or explodes. Here's the fun part. Telling them to just relax is about as helpful as telling a tornado to slow dance. The real fix? Reassurance plus physical regulation, deep breaths, hugs, quiet space, or even squeezing something squishy. An anxious kid doesn't need to be told they're overreacting. They need someone to sit beside their spiraling brain and whisper, "I get it. You're safe." In other words, hug the meerkat before it builds a doomsday bunker out of Lego bricks. There's this moment, maybe you've seen it, when your child makes a mistake, gets called out, and suddenly disappears. Not physically, emotionally. They look away, curl in, go silent. You didn't yell, you didn't shame, but somehow their whole body folds in like someone hit the hide inside shell button. That's not guilt, that's shame. And shame is a mood turtle, slow, hidden, and completely unwilling to participate in eye contact or life. Shame shows up when kids internalize a mistake as proof that they are the mistake. It's like, I spilled the milk, so now I'm a terrible person who deserves to live in a cave forever. And if you, the parent, react with even a whiff of disappointment, that turtle pulls deeper into the shell. Because now the threat isn't just the mistake, it's the risk of disconnection. What works here isn't correction, it's compassion. Because shame isn't a behavior problem. It's a fear of unworthiness. And when kids feel unworthy, they don't try harder. They shut down. So when your child becomes a shell with feet, don't poke. Just sit. Be soft. Tell them they're still loved, maybe especially when they mess up, because no amount of discipline teaches self-worth. Only connection does. You know that moment when your child is so happy they're basically vibrating? Jumping on the couch, laughing at absolutely nothing, trying to high-five the dog and also eat a popsicle upside down? That's not just hyperactivity. That's joy. Full-blown, unfiltered, golden retriever in a bounce house joy. And honestly, it's beautiful and slightly terrifying. Because joy in kids is not neat and tidy. It's not clapping politely or smiling softly like a Victorian ghost. Nope. It's loud. It's chaotic. It spills into places it's not supposed to be, like grocery store aisles and quiet libraries. But here's what we miss as adults. Joy is actually a regulation tool. It's how kids refill their emotional gas tank. Laughter resets their nervous system. Play anchors them in safety. And when they go full golden retriever, that's their body saying, hey, we're safe enough to be ridiculous right now. But if you're in a mood yourself, tired, stressed, or already at 90% capacity, that joyful chaos can feel like a personal attack. Like, why are you screaming about a banana? Emily, it's just fruit. And when we squash that joy too often with calm down or stop being silly, kids start shrinking it. They begin believing that big joy is too much for other people. So next time your child is being absurd in the happiest way possible, try joining in for a second. Even if it's just a goofy face or a fake monster voice. Let joy be big. Because joy isn't a distraction. It's the glue that holds everything else together. Picture a cat. Now imagine someone puts that cat in a tiny sweater. It freezes. It flops over. It suddenly forgets how legs work. That's your kid when they feel embarrassed. Embarrassment is weird. It's this sudden, hot spotlight feeling that makes you want to vanish into the carpet and live there forever. And for kids, it shows up in the most random ways. Like when they trip on nothing, or when someone laughs at their drawing. Or, tragedy of all tragedies, when you call them a silly nickname in public. What's happening here is social self-awareness crashing into insecurity like a toddler with a plastic tricycle. Their brain is learning. Other people see me, and they might be judging me. And if your reaction is to tease them back, oh, you've just confirmed it. Now they're not just embarrassed, they're alone in it. This is why some kids get super defensive or suddenly don't care about things they clearly do care about. It's the emotional equivalent of hissing and running under the couch. So how do you help? You normalize it. You say things like, yeah, that felt awkward, huh? That happens to me too. You take the sweater off the cat, metaphorically speaking, because kids don't need to toughen up to survive embarrassment. They need to know they're still lovable with blushy cheeks and all. Okay, imagine a hamster, a cute, fluffy little guy just trying to run his tiny errands. Now put him in a blender. Don't turn it on, obviously, but still, chaos. That's what overwhelm looks like in a kid. This is when your child just stops working. They can't choose socks. They're crying over decisions like which crayon to use. They're on the floor in a pile of feelings and Velcro shoes. Their brain isn't being dramatic, it's genuinely overloaded. The prefrontal cortex, The part that makes decisions and solves problems has thrown in the towel. And the limbic system? Oh, it's partying in Panic Town. And because kids can't say, "Mother, I seem to have reached my executive functioning threshold," they just start melting. Literally, emotionally, spiritually. This is not the time for lectures. This is not the time for logic. This is the time for helping them feel safe again. You slow down. You simplify. You take their metaphorical hamster out of the metaphorical blender and give it a juice box. Because overwhelm isn't fixed with, "You're fine." It's fixed with, "I've got you." You ever notice your kid being extra clingy, or randomly mean, or just weirdly quiet in a room full of people? That might not be boredom. That might be loneliness. The emotional ghost costume. Loneliness in kids is tricky. It doesn't always look like solitude. Sometimes it looks like poking their sibling on purpose, or suddenly becoming obsessed with your attention like you're the last Wi-Fi signal on Earth. Because here's the thing, a lonely kid doesn't always say, "I feel disconnected." They act it out. The science behind this is sneaky. Humans are wired for connection. When that connection feels missing, even subtly, the nervous system throws little behavior grenades to say, "Hey, I need someone to notice me." The tragic twist? Most adults react by withdrawing, punishing, or sending them away to calm down, which only makes the ghost costume tighter. The fix? Reconnection. Not fixing, not analyzing, just being there, undistracted, interested, and ridiculously available, even for a minute. Because sometimes the cure for loneliness is as simple as sitting beside your ghost kid and saying, "Want to draw something weird together?" Your child sees someone else get the last cupcake, or a shiny new toy, or, gasp, more praise than them. And suddenly, they transform. Not into a monster, into a clipboard-wielding raccoon. Because jealousy? Oh, jealousy is organized. It has spreadsheets. It's tallying up every crumb of attention, every ounce of fairness, and hoarding emotional receipts like, "On Thursday at 2:46 p.m., you said my sister was smarter." This mood isn't just about wanting something. It's about feeling like someone else having a thing means you have less, which is not logical. But hey, your child's brain is still under construction. Psychologically speaking, jealousy comes from comparison, and comparison comes from insecurity. So when you say, "Don't be jealous," what your child hears is, "Stop having feelings that make me uncomfortable." The real magic is in naming it without shame. Try. Looks like you wish that was yours too, huh? Boom. Suddenly, the clipboard raccoon drops its pencil and goes, "Yeah, exactly." Now you've invited understanding instead of competition. Because kids don't want to be envious. They just want to know that their needs matter too. And hey, maybe you're the one with a little clipboard raccoon inside, counting how many times your kid said "Mom" before you finished your coffee. Just saying. So your child is taking apart the remote control. Again. Or asking why clouds exist for the 50th time. Or, true story, trying to microwave a rock to see if it glows. Welcome to the chaos of curiosity, aka baby octopus with a flamethrower energy. Curiosity is the mood that looks like mischief, but it's really science. It's your kid's brain saying, "What if I push this button? What if I break this rule? What if I taste this?" Psychologically, curiosity activates the dopaminergic reward system, meaning your kid literally gets a brain treat every time they learn something new, or even try to. Unfortunately, curiosity doesn't come with built-in risk assessment. That part of the brain, hello again, prefrontal cortex, doesn't fully mature until somewhere around after they've already made a mess. So when you respond with, "Why would you do that?" they're often genuinely confused. Like, "To see what happens? Isn't that obvious?" The trick isn't to shut it down, it's to channel it. Give the octopus tools, not flames. Let them take things apart that don't involve sharp objects or Wi-Fi. Set up experiments. Or let them invent something, even if it's mostly duct tape and chaos. Because curiosity, untrained, becomes destruction. But curiosity, supported? That's how you raise an inventor, an artist, or, let's be real, a very annoying trivia champion. Kids grieve weirdly. Sometimes it's obvious, crying, asking big questions, getting clingy. But sometimes it's subtle. They become quiet, tired, weirdly grown up, like a bear in a cardigan who just wants tea and silence. Grief in kids doesn't always follow the stages adults expect. It's nonlinear. One minute they're sobbing over the goldfish funeral. The next they're asking for pizza and watching cartoons like nothing happened. But the pain? It's real. Their brain is just processing in bursts because the limbic system is overwhelmed and the cognitive part hasn't caught up. Even little losses, moving schools, a lost toy, a friend moving away, can trigger grief. And when adults say, "It's not that big of a deal," kids learn to bury it, deep, under sarcasm and Fortnite. Here's what helps: storytelling, ritual, repetition, making space for memory without forcing it. Let them draw about it, talk about it, ask about it months later, not just once. And above all, presence. Because grief isn't solved, it's carried. And little bears don't want lectures. They want company. So bring the cardigan, sit beside them. Let silence be enough. Finally, let's talk about the weirdest, most adorable mood of all. When your kid does something they're secretly proud of, but they act like it's no big deal. Like when they help their sibling, then pretend it was an accident, or clean up their room. But walk away like whatever. That's shame-faced pride. The duck in sunglasses. It waddles in all chill, like, yeah, I guess I'm awesome. But underneath, that duck is dying for someone to notice. This is especially common in kids who are used to being corrected more than praised. They don't want to need validation, but they kind of do. So instead of, "Why didn't you tell me you did this?" try, "I noticed you did this thing. That was kind." And watch the duck do a little internal backflip. Because even the coolest kid, even the one pretending to be too cool to care, wants to be seen. Just gently,